Good, all right, let's get started, please. Number 1, spray park update. I think I see David here, come on up. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Yourselves?
I'm good.
Great. So, as Chad was just mentioning, we have our grand opening this Thursday, 5 o'clock at the spray park. So, I guess as far as an update, we are operational. We've certainly had our hiccups to this moment. 99% of them are taken care of, and the rest of them will be taken care of hopefully within the next week or two. Any specific questions, I guess?
I think we're kind of wondering, like, with benches and what was the other thing? Benches, and there was another, but because I was there, I don't know, a week ago. Some of the benches that are there are pretty decrepit, like the original one. So and there was something else. So I was just kind of curious as to, before we started looking at benches or other things around.
Hey, that's great that you bring that up, because we still have some money in the bank that I was approached today by a member of another local organization who will hopefully meet within the next week or two to get together. We will be doing some benches and some picnic tables. We also want to upgrade the play structure that's there, that's about 15 years old. Not 100% sure if it meets code again, but I think that will involve also another meeting with council and possibly with Randy to see if we can get the town to step forward a little bit and maybe install some of the fixtures for us, so we can make our money stretch a little bit further. I think that now we have this beautiful spray park with nice sod there. We've got some money. Let's pull some money together and really make this Centennial Park something to talk about.
So the water isn't running from 9 till 8 anymore, it's the push button works now?
Yes, so it's still it's operational from right now from 9 in the morning until 8 in the evening. However, you need to cycle it on and off by touching the touchpad button. That was one of the issues we had. The button that was there was shorted out and would periodically turn it on by itself without anybody activating it.
Happy with it? Everything's good?
I'm ecstatic about it, yeah, absolutely.
Good. Everything's working properly now?
Everything's working properly. Like I say, a few hiccups along the way. You never expect them, but you're gonna get them.
The kids are using it, that's all that matters. Hundreds of kids out there.
Hundreds, yeah. Every time I seem to go by there, it's absolutely packed. So,
Yeah,
which is putting the other equipment to use too.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't even really that warm on Saturday, but there was probably 30 or 40 kids when I drove by there, so that's great.
I understand there's some winterization stuff that's currently on its way here too?
Yes, they were actually just up here today, and Sam's been really great to deal with via text messaging back and forth, emailing back and forth. Whenever I needed something, he was always there, and everything else from now on that local people take into hand shouldn't have any issues going forward.
When do you think you'll close it down, Dave?
I think that's more of a question to ask Amber and Sam as to when they're going to see it. Typically, they go from May long to September long.
Okay.
So that would be probably a decent time. Sometimes you get a hot September that we might want to keep it open a little bit longer, but those are typically the operating times for the spray park.
Great.
Okay.
This Thursday, 5 p.m.
This Thursday, 5 p.m. Pizza by Domino's. Water if you want to get wet, bring your bathing suits.
I'll be there.
Cool. Well, good job, David. Thank you.
Great.
For the
All right.
bathing suits.
Okay, guys, anything else for David, or that's it? No?
Thanks, Dave.
Well done.
Great, David.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans, please, come forth. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Why don't you introduce yourself and...
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you, Mayor Jakes. Council members, thank you. I want to thank my campaign manager for, I guess, creating an opportunity for myself to be here to address you, introduce myself a little bit. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing it to happen, and it's my first time in this building. I didn't even come here 20 years ago when I ran 20 years ago. And I got nominated exactly 4 months ago It was April 26th, so 4 months has elapsed. There's 2 weeks left in this campaign, so it's going pretty fast. But nevertheless, I'm here and I'm grateful for the support that I'm receiving from many people in this community. I look forward to hopefully become the MLA and work very closely with you. I know that through Jim's time here and through his own life experience in this place, he shared with me some of the challenges, and I know that the lagoon is certainly a huge one for this town, as has been expressed by also what's her name, Judy Mayer. We met with her as well, and that was a big concern. I know that in order for the town to grow, which it needs to grow, you need to address those issues. That was one of the issues I had when I was chief in Norrie House. In order to get to school, we had to expand our lagoon. Without the lagoon, there was no school, so it's important that those infrastructure issues are addressed. And the only way to be able to do that is I hope to be in government. I am 20 years ago when I almost won Philman, I was declared a winner at one point in the evening towards the end. On our way to the airport to come here, the campaign manager, Ken McMaster at the time, called the airport. We were at the airport already, and he indicated one more poll came in and I had lost. But on the way to the airport, though, it was bittersweet for me because the party I was running for had, that film, and that's when Gary Doer and the NDP came in, and I didn't want this riding to be in opposition. I wanted someone to be in government so that we don't lose out too much. And so in that way, it was good for me. In a sense, it allowed me to gain more experience, valuable experience, meet many more people through my time as the AMC Grand Chief and through my time as Chief in Norrie House as well. And I've gained a lot more experience, built a large network. The boundary itself has shifted. I know many of the communities that are in the riding now that were not in the riding before, and so that's an advantage that I have over, I believe, anyone else that's running it for the other parties. And so I feel very optimistic that things will go well. I been pretty much in all the other communities already. Be spending pretty much the remainder of my campaign, whatever is left of the campaign, in this area. And I know the issues, of course. I've been around long enough to know what the majority of the issues are. I know the big ones I'm coming across right now is healthcare, of course. And then there's for many of the communities there's a fishing issue. And roads, those are, and of course education falls in it right after that. But those are the four main ones that I'm coming across. Outside the individual issues that each of the communities are challenged with, and so I know that you're no different as well. And so, but in order to really make a difference, it's very important to have someone at the table so that nothing gets overlooked by government by having an opposition member there who can't really do anything for anyone other than raise issues. So that's how I understand the nature of the business. But I'm actually rather hear from you. If you have any questions, I prefer to answer questions than try to read your minds.
In one of the Premier's campaign stops, he was commenting about healthcare and increasing funding to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was some discussion, I think, of an additional $2 billion over the next
That's
4 or
right.
5 years.
Yes.
Think we'll get a clinic?
Well, in the $2 billion, there was a breakdown. There was a breakdown we had that Frank actually requested, and it's actually it's in the office. But that's not total, that's not the total amount. But it's certainly, there is money in there for the north. But, you know, I being there, I would actually go to bat for
That would
the
be good.
constituents, yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it, I think my track record, you know, sort of should prove that I'll go after things when I need them. Just to give you an example of the school, the Helen Betty Osborne School, when I was back in late 90s actually, when I started negotiating with that. It was a 6-year negotiation. When I became chief, what was on the infrastructure budget for Indian Affairs was $5.8 million. That's all they wanted to give to Norris at the time. They call it a middle year school. But I already saw that was not gonna cut it. And so we went after the school that's there now. It was about $43 million building. And it was a 6 years negotiation. We never gave up on it. And so that's how we got the school, even though that's, 2004, 15 years ago now. It's already they need more space already as it is. But that's why it's important that, it's always important that to advocate hard for what communities need, what the town needs. And so I wouldn't hesitate to be strong for you.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. How many miles you put on?
So far, I put on over 15, well, from August 2nd to yesterday was 8,000 kilometers. That's just in the last little while, but that's not even counting from April. I think it's 15, right? 15, 16,000 kilometers.
It's a huge riding.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I look forward to 2 weeks' time.
Well, that's good. Well, in the event if the Conservatives form a government again, it would be great to have a member of government in our riding.
Yeah.
You know, it would be good.
Yeah, and I have a good relationship with, with this government.
Yeah. Any comments, questions, concerns? No?
Well, that's good.
Well, thank you so much for coming, Ron. I know you're busy. Like I said, it's a huge riding, so I wish you well and safe travels.
But I'd rather have this riding than Flin Flon or those other Kiwi. We gotta fly. Yeah. At least you can drive to
At
each
least you
community.
can drive.
Yeah.
It must be 600-700 kilometers end to end?
Yeah, easy.
Oh,
Yeah, easy. Yeah, but anyway,
okay.
it's all accessible. That's the main thing. Okay, well, very
All
good.
right, guys.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks for coming.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks.
The conversation you just had with us Splash Park, I remember having a conversation like that when we put our baseball diamonds in a couple of years back, and we had, it's that, it has a water system, so every time we're on this, you guys start figuring, make sure nothing freezes in it. Otherwise it's expensive. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thanks, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks a lot.
Safe travels.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, we had a lot of issue sheets from Councillor Ward this evening, and unfortunately he couldn't attend the meeting. He had other things pop up. So what we're going to do with things that Bill had brought forward, we're just going to table them to our next meeting, okay? Because he wants to speak to them. So item 1.3, the Hudson Bay Route Association. 1.4, selling of town merchandise. 1.5, promoting the town. Brings us to 1.6, audited financial statements.
Hi.
So you've all had a chance to look over the 2018 audit drafts. You're blown away by some of the information in there.
Stimulating stuff.
Stimulating stuff, yeah. Well, they're pretty convoluted. I mean, and that's to take away the message from this. I mean, you've seen these financials all the way along in 18. There wasn't really a lot shocking on these bigger fancier statements. We're within, we're exactly on with the utility. They're showing the same number I'm showing. Slightly small, like a very nominal variance on the operating, just because we've got some other entities being combined in there, the CDC, Kelsey Planning, recycling. So I don't think there's any surprises. I don't see anything that really concerns me in terms of we're surprised or unprepared. We did see an unqualified opinion again, which is what you want. There is a small surplus, which again, ideal. We can talk about how we want to treat that. Doesn't have to be today. Ideally, once the statements are finalized, I guess. But
So Graham, so on the surplus side of things, because these things get confusing. Annual surplus of 754,000, is
No.
that? No?
So if you look at the very last page of this whole audit, Schedule 14, page 35, you're looking at the municipal net surplus or deficit. It's the first number on the page, 118,716. That's your general operating surplus for the year. We have a deficit with the utility, which again, doesn't surprise anybody considering all that deep well stuff that had occurred. But yeah, so it's just a nominal surplus. It's not a big one. But that would be what we would be reporting. Say if we had a deficit, that's what we would be reporting to recover, would be that line number too. So there's a bit of leeway in terms of how we treat this. We can put it away as a reserve, for general reserve. We can flow this into next year's tax planning, and it would be a credit against future taxes. There's a few things we can do, but again, we can talk about that later. In the big scheme of things, it's not going to be a significant impact on anything. But that's good. I mean, you don't want to, if you have big surpluses or deficits,
That's right.
you've made some mistakes probably, right?
Yeah.
So,
So,
I mean, so.
So the net surplus of 850, that's amortization, that's,
Yeah, it's a whole, like, so municipalities and like, we budget it in a different manner, right? So we don't factor in all this capital stuff in the same way. Some time ago, they decided that everybody needed to start reporting under PSAV, which is accrual basis, which is how everybody else reports in business and otherwise. That's just not how municipalities operate. We operate on a cash basis, so when we do our financial plan, we're not planning amortization, we're just planning on money in, money out, right? And so that's the number we work with in terms of calculating a surplus as well. So yeah, amortization, transfers, which aren't technically expenses. I mean, there's, but that's how we report to the province. That's how they would consider a surplus or deficit.
so on a cash basis, 118 is the surplus?
Is the surplus. Yeah.
Okay.
other than, but the utility.
Other than the utility.
Other
so,
than utility?
yeah.
That's,
Now the utility, we're probably going to have to turn around and try and recover that. The history has been we recover it through surplus adjustment.
But overall, for the year, you would have been 184 more cash than.
Well, no, negative if you're combining them together.
Yeah.
You'd be down. Yeah.
Yeah. But to operate the town, that would be the minus that you would have had this year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, was there anything inside of this that caused you any concerns, any surprises, any?
No.
No?
No, you know, and minor disagreements on how they took our budget and transferred it into this one. Nothing that I think is worthwhile even debating. Nobody's going to care other than me. I don't see anything that really blows me away. I think we're in a reasonably good financial position. We steadily creep up in terms of our debt ratio, which again will swing the other way eventually. But
next year.
I mean, the position gets stronger every year right now because we're paying down debt, we're putting aside money. So
Great. Good job having it done. It's 2018.
yeah, I would have liked to have had it done in July, but
Yeah,
It's all good.
some things get away from me.
This is
So.
good.
Good.
it's good, very good.
It wasn't too many years ago that it came out a year late.
So
Or not a year late, I shouldn't say that, but a year.
think it was 3 or 4 years
It
late.
was a couple years.
Yeah.
So 1 month late is pretty good.
Yep. All right, any questions, folks, for Graham? No? Cool, so a resolution will be coming forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1.7, council indemnity bylaw.
So in March, I brought this forward as part of our budget deliberation and discussion. Based on the information here, in 2017 and 2018, or 2016, we passed a bylaw which showed a reduction in council indemnity for the years 2017 and 2018 in the amount of 10%. It was quite clear in the bylaw that we would be moving forward with the consumer price index cost, or COLA, of 2.7, and council had asked that we wait with bringing this back until after the budget is passed. So the COLA for 2018 would be 2.7. So we would require a resolution to move forward with increasing the indemnity.
I don't think we need that one. I'm not a big supporter of that. I don't know if it's necessary, in my opinion, but just my opinion.
What's everybody think?
You know, with that tax, what's that, you tax on it now with your thing, I think I would go for it. I don't think I'm making millions, by no means, and I'm busier now than whatever. I would say how busy I have the violins playing, but every dollar that's in there is like a well-earned dollar, and the time that you put into it, and it was, yeah, so I think it's, you don't make much to begin with, and if you don't keep up, you're, you know, there's no, it's very minimal as it sits right now, so.
If you're doing this job for the paycheck, you're not gonna get very far. It's not a big paycheck. I'm fine with moving ahead with a CPI increase. We're not talking big dollars. Overall, it's $1,000, I don't know, something like that, I don't know. I don't even know what it would be, so I'm fine with moving ahead.
Can I just add one thing to that before I move away from it? But we didn't give the staff here a CPI increase. We gave them the 2%, that I believe.
We give them
1% that everybody else got.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, so I would have a bit of an issue personally with that. Just wanted to bring that up.
Karen?
Taxes as it is, I'm okay with it remaining as is. I don't.
So we're 2 and 2 right now.
Sorry, I want to change mine. I thought we gave staff CPI as well, but I don't think we should be getting any more than what staff got. So if staff got 1%, I'm fine with going at 1%.
And we're, I mean, again, I'm gonna keep the argument going. We're called nickel and diming here. And I know we're talking about we're good staff, but no one on staff's making 10 grand a year either, right? So, you know, when we say we didn't give staff this, we're talking about $10,000. It's, you know, just throw that number out there to keep things in perspective as to what 2% or whatever we're talking about. So it's, and again, either way, whatever the vote wins, but just throw that out there.
So would there be any objections if we bring the resolution forward to the next council meeting? And hopefully all the councillors are there, and we can discuss it one more time, and we can pass it, amend it, or defeat it. Everybody okay with that? Because I would appreciate if Bill and Larry were here.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Okay? Cool.
So bring it forward as COLA as
Bring it
presented.
As presented, and then we'll discuss it,
Okay.
debate it, make a decision, and so forth.
What's your opinion on it?
You know, it's one of those things that in the summer, I've been very lucky in the summer because I've been so busy in my personal life, I haven't had to spend a lot of time as the mayor. and it showed tonight at our meeting. But when the fall and winter, spring season starts, man, there's a lot to go. There's a lot. And I'm not doing it for the money, but, you know, it's a good perk. It's my understanding that the Reeve gets paid for the meetings he attends.
Yeah.
I don't know what he gets paid, but it's my understanding he gets paid for the meeting he attends. And maybe we should look at some of those type of things to see how we are compared to our neighbors. Because, and again, I don't need to get paid for all the meetings I go to, right? Because I don't want to keep track, but we go to a lot of meetings. And if you weren't either retired or self-employed, you couldn't do this job because no employer would keep you employed. Just a comment. So, where's my opinion on it? I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say too with Bill and Larry. And I like the 1% idea, right? It's fair.
Yeah. And I also think it's a little bit, you know, we have to, some counselors are on committees that are
That's right.
much busier than others.
Yes.
And they meet more often and they, and you know, it's, so,
Yeah.
it's not a, and it's always difficult, you're giving yourself a raise.
Right.
It's, you know.
The
always
perception,
looks- Yeah.
right, the perception is that all politicians are self-serving, but in reality, like what's a councillor getting now? $10,000. You know, and the mayor of the POG gets $17,000.
That's what I mean, if you worked it out on an hourly basis,
Yeah, you're a
you'd
volunteer.
be lucky if you're getting.
And again, you'd brought up, if I can just pipe in, you did bring up the changes with the tax, because before it was
That's
a
right.
little different.
A third was.
You used to get a perk and now it's 100%.
Yeah.
Just some food for thought on a few
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things.
Okay, so we'll bring that to council and we'll go through it with everybody there. Payroll and accounts, disbursement report.
So we would require a resolution for pay period 17, the amount of $127,968.57, general checks in the amount of $235,040.49, and EFTs of $66,779.88. We would also require a resolution for checks in conflict in the amount of $1,099.52. You will see there's a couple of larger ones in here. That would be Dillon Consultant, that's your lagoon report of $71.82. Nordhart Sales, that's fuel inspection and upgrades at both our town garage and at the airport. $27,537.20 is for your recycling. $71,772, that's TriStar Traffic, that's our crosswalks. And Wasco was almost double or triple of what normal, as they were behind in a few billings, so that one's at $27,156.
That does, I don't remember crosswalks being in the budget.
Yeah, that's been,
Yeah, no, I just don't remember that for some reason.
I think it's because it was something that was for a couple of years we were looking at it.
It was approved last year, and then
It wasn't talked about this year. Was it talked about?
Any questions on this stuff, fellas, ladies?
I don't think I had any this time. Pretty sure I didn't.
If not, then I guess there'll be a resolution moving forward. Okay. I don't know if we need to review EFTs and check details, it's all part of that.
It's all general.
Yeah. Okay, the June finance report.
Okay, so this is our halfway mark financial for the year. Obviously some notable changes from last month. We've got our tax assessment in there. That would be the biggest change. Setting up of the education payables for the levies.
Are you concerned, Graham, with any areas not gonna come within budget?
It's difficult to say at this point. I mean, looking at some of the highlights here, I mean, in general, it looks like we're maintaining below budget. We're gonna have some heavier costs in some of the departments, like Public Works later when we're doing snow clearing, stuff like that. But the only one that jumps out at me right now is KRC being a little over budget, and it's just incrementally over budget at this point. So I had sent some questions to Amber, try and follow up on some of the information, some of the accounts that I was a little bit concerned about, and I haven't heard back yet. But I mean, at this point in the year, there's still plenty of time to make adjustments, and so there's no need to come over budget, I guess, or no reason to anticipate that we're gonna go over budget. I also look, you know, you're always kind of looking at these revenues and wondering, well, are we a little bit low? And we may be as well with respect to KRC and wellness.
What about library?
Well, the library is fixed, right? So we just pay them with a one-time, and then that's it. So showing a 100% for them would be typical this time of the year. I'm showing 95. It's just maintenance stuff that we take care of after that. So usually the library's not a problem. So
The airport revenue, the fuel sales, how did it go this summer?
well, I don't know yet because this is still back in June when it just kind of started out. So I won't see those finals until probably August. I know Rowan said that it's been a little bit slower
It's slow
than she
compared to other
expected.
years.
I've heard.
Quite a bit
So
slower.
Hasn't been much for fires
No.
tonight, and that's a big,
Doesn't give me that warm fuzzy feeling that I was
Yeah.
hoping for. But
Close to being done now.
hopefully
Almost one weekend.
we netted well.
Do they?
We'll find out. Yeah.
That was good September long.
If Trudeau promised our bombers to go to the Amazon, we're going to be right out of luck right away here.
Okay, any other questions? Again, good job. Thank you. Okay, 1.10, parking, semi-trucks. Somebody sent me an email, and I forwarded it off to Jen, and I think, I don't know if everybody read it?
Yeah.
So I
He's
guess
got a good point.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
he's got yeah, he does have a good point, right? I guess some of the questions that I had, so let's say for instance the A&W, there's some no parking signs there. Did we put them there or did the province put them there?
Property owners,
What was that property then?
next to the lab, that belongs to the lab.
No, but right across from the A&W.
Yeah,
That one would be CN
no.
and
The street.
the street?
The street has no parking signs, right?
Oh, okay, I thought you meant
That's all right.
the parking areas, because some people have no
Gordon
parking.
Avenue, yeah. So,
Yeah, we can talk to highways,
well, who put it there? Did we put it there or highways put it
it
there?
would be theirs.
And that lot that's right by West Canada, that has basically no park, I think it actually says
no semi-truck.
But there are some semi-trucks that do park there.
I think they have permission.
Yeah, but what?
They
It's
rent.
privately owned,
They rent.
that's
They
it.
rented a spot at one point.
Okay, so do you know who owns it?
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
Kennedy?
It's for sale, isn't it?
But it's not really zoned for that, which gets further into what you're talking about here.
Okay.
Because right now there is really nowhere in town that you can park these things, but I know at one point, we were approached on that and we said it's not really zoned for parking vehicles like that. So I think that is something that was a recommendation through here, is look at a solution as to where we can maybe set something like that up with the rezoning of it to permit them to park.
How do other communities do it? Like, do they have areas like where you can park a semi somewhere to go to the A&W or McDonald's?
I think a lot of them, their setup is quite different because there's big, like if you look at any other communities, there's big parking lots where these guys can pull right in. We don't have that luxury in a lot of these.
Yeah, like I've never noticed that till I just read this email.
So if Bill, the truck driver, wanted to stop at the A&W for 15 minutes and get a hamburger, how do we make that happen for him? How do we get so he can stop in front of the A&W for 15 minutes?
I would suggest that we have a little conversation with highways.
But who would issue the ticket for him stopping there?
Was it nice?
No, it's the,
Way scale?
that lady, the way scale lady, she does, she's very busy.
Okay, so if they seen somebody parked on the street there, that they would,
Yes,
okay.
Motor carrier enforcement.
yeah. So, I think it's something we should address.
For sure.
right? So if highways is the people who have the stick, why don't we invite them for a meeting and a discussion?
And maybe also enforcement as well. I don't know.
Yeah, well, enforcement is basically just enforcing somebody's sign.
Yeah.
I thought it was our sign. No?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Well, it sounds like they can't park at Otenikay anymore either, and,
No, those signs just went up in the last 2 weeks or whatever.
because they used to park in there and I think sleep, you know.
Overnight, yeah.
Yeah. They'll, we'll have guys park at the hotel parking lot many times overnight, and we see them in the morning, right, sleeping, but they're not infecting us, so it doesn't bother us.
These guys are more, it's affecting business, because they're just trying to do business on their way through, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah, they might just want to stop and grab a
Yeah.
coffee or a hamburger or something, right?
The only thing that's hard with it, and I feel for these people, you need to use the washroom, you need to do whatever you need to do. But when you're pulling out of A&W, like the drive-through part, you can't see. Because if there's a semi
Oh.
parked there, an accident can happen. So I was thinking, you know, even if you made it only an entrance, not an exit, but when you're leaving the drive-through, you'd have to go all the way around the building again. So that wouldn't work, to make it just like a one-way entry.
Well, there are, how many
Unless
trucks
you
a day?
exited to the back lane, which nobody's good.
Well, how many trucks a day you guys get on
Oh, lots,
there?
like,
Lots, right?
I can't even guess off that, I'm saying to say 60.
So there might be 100 or 200 trucks a day passing through the pod that can't stop anymore.
So just truck right on through.
But even
Yeah,
in some of these areas, if we could have even talked to, say, someone like CN or whoever owns that property and said, hey, we'll even run a grader through if you let them just drive in for a few minutes, like, to try and work with them.
And is it a matter of, you know, because of, say, that spot across from the West Canada, kind of just coordinating businesses to businesses so that whoever owns the land can get more money, because now, yeah, we'll pay $500 if Johnny can stop in there, park, go down the road, get a coffee, and come back. Like, I don't know, what are they paying, or he doesn't want any business with
No
that.
idea.
The other place just wants to park their stuff, because they don't park, all I see is they park those little tiny, two-tire little sections, whatever they're called. I rarely see a full truck parked there.
There's an issue with guard line because they can't take the trucks with those
With the bees
pumps or
on.
whatever.
Yeah,
On the back, they can't take them over the bridge. So that's why they need somewhere on this side of town where they can leave.
Drop it, and
Drop
then
it,
go,
yeah.
and then come back.
And then come back and get it or whatever.
so I don't know if that space would be, because the problem we're gonna have is, highways are probably where? And it's gonna be a spot that we can't say, oh, over by the mill, there's a great spot, because
Yeah.
there's nothing over there. It needs to be somewhere, that's, I guess, why the only place in town I can think of that's close is around there.
They want a fast food restaurant, something that they can just get out, grab, and get back on the truck and keep on going. Time is money, right? So,
I'd be interested to know how they do it in other communities. These
Yeah, we can
trucks
definitely
drive
look into
through
that.
all the
If,
time.
if you
Not
look,
parking
if
spots.
you look in Walmart parking lots, and that's where they always are, right? Like, yeah, that's where they,
what does Swan River do?
yeah, I don't know.
they have that, there's that big co-op parking lot there.
Yeah.
So
They have a lot of open spots, that's the deal.
And they've got like a little side road that you
They
can
got the
drive
service
down
roads,
to.
yeah.
Service roads, yeah. We can make a few calls.
Okay.
Just be curious.
Can you get back to us?
Yep.
All right, okay. Recommend, 111, walking path fence.
Before the discussion starts, I'm gonna declare a conflict, but I just wanna ask one question on the whole process. So, because I live along this walking path, I haven't participated in any of the discussions at council. But I'm also not allowed to participate in any of the discussions as a citizen, of a resident of that. And we are gonna build a fence along my yard, and I haven't even had somebody come and talk to me about what they're planning on doing there, so I think that that process is, I should be allowed to participate in something.
I don't know what the municipal act is.
I don't understand why you wouldn't be allowed to participate as a citizen.
Well, this is what we said in this council meeting, because when we set up I wasn't invited to come to the meetings.
If it's council, You'd have a
And then we set
conflict.
up a committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't involved in that, I wasn't able to be involved in that committee either, because I was sitting in council. And when we go around to decide what we're doing, nobody's even consulted me as a resident owner on what we're planning on doing, which is kind of, seems odd.
Maybe I'm incorrect, but it was my understanding that there was someone that was speaking on behalf of the citizens. Can you
No, I
confirm
think
that?
Sort
Yeah,
of
there
the
was
way.
three and
That's-
three who were
'cause that's where I'm
for, three
confused.
who were against.
Yeah. Well,
It's an interesting point.
but nobody's asking me, and I have a business, I have a resident along the
Yeah.
walking path, that's all I'm
And I
saying.
was, and when I read this, I was under the understanding, and I don't know if I just
I better leave it alone.
was confused with something, but I thought that we were looking at fencing for only B and C, not A.
They don't plan on closing any of the walking paths.
Oh, I understand
Yeah,
that.
okay, all right.
But what I thought was that we were getting fencing for only 2 of the walking paths and not the ones that,
I think we were gonna do the
Andre's.
3 on Cutmore. Behind Andre, by Chad's old house, and by Cheryl. That was
Yeah,
my
like
understanding.
I thought it was the first 2 and not that one. I don't know why, when I was reading this, it
Yeah.
had all 3 listed and I was
Okay,
confused somehow.
so we got tenders, right?
We didn't get anybody tender on anything.
And nobody tendered.
So now what we want to do is separate them, one for supplied material and one for installation.
See, I'm just gonna, from a construction point of view, I didn't bid on this, obviously, but it wasn't necessarily clear what was to be used. Like, just saying a black metal fence, I think maybe would have thrown contractors for a loop. And I'm just gonna say that we need to start doing a better job of getting these tenders out there. I understand we put it in the paper, but we need to be using our social media accounts to get this information out there as well. That's my take on this whole subject.
When we advertise a tender, how do we do it now, Graham?
Goes in the paper, I think we put it on our Facebook, and we also stick it on Merck's, the provincial
Yeah,
site.
it's on there.
That's on Merck's as well.
Now, there could be an education component there for the local contractors to look on Merck's, absolutely. We did, just on your point of the fencing, we had detailed examples of what we thought was.
Was there?
Yeah. Because we had looked at the examples at our committee meeting, and basically we had approved the one we wanted, and that's what was supplied.
I'm a little surprised, because they even gave us a quote, and then they didn't bid on it. I guess they must not have wanted to do the install. Very strange.
Okay, so then can we move forward with the,
Separating them?
with separating them? Go from there? Okay. That's it? Could you yell at Andre?
That's the response I expected.
Sam's not here?
Yeah, but
Okay.
is it them next?
It'll be
Yeah.
coming up, yeah.
Yep, they're up.
Snap, snap.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Excellent.
We're talking about the electric boiler system.
Oh, excellent.
How'd you like to?
Chris, come join us.
Sorry, Colin, for that.
Come and join us. Come
Be
join
part
us.
of the team there, my
Team
friend.
effort. Being inclusive.
Just chime in when I'm needed. Yeah.
You're the muscle.
The financial muscle for
There's
sure.
the muscle. Yeah, he's the
You wanna go ahead and talk about the proposal a little bit? So we had a little bit of, where we were evaluating the proposals, we just wanted to make sure, because the proposals are so different, and different sizes and different styles. So we had some work done by Geo.
Geoexergy, they did a geothermal feasibility study for us. So they looked at the building envelope a little bit, so they had some preliminary data for us, and they could check the work.
So we had them review the evaluation bids on the lowest bid to ensure that those boiler sizes would actually work for what we needed. And we did have money left over in the budget for the project in order to do that, so we paid them the money to evaluate to ensure that we were getting what we needed and ensure that it would work with our existing system. And they will actually help us throughout the process as well for the ensuring the products that we're getting are up to code and that we're getting what we need and ensure everything will work together. So that's what we based our evaluation and our recommendation on.
Okay, so what are you recommending?
Clock tower.
Mac Tower, yeah.
Just let me know.
So what's the timeline when we approve this to get it up and running and installed? Not January or February?
We're sort of running out of season, and so we're not sure how quickly it'll be the turnaround. I don't think we have a firm date on that.
Yeah, I think we'll have to give them a letter and have a discussion with them after.
Roll into next year, it has to roll into next year. It's still something that's a win to get on the docket, right?
Yeah, no, but can you actually, I'm just saying that if it gets too cold, you might not be able to actually do it because you won't be able to convert your old system, so you'd be waiting until next.
Correct.
Correct.
So if we could, sooner we could get it going, I'm sure these guys can get it installed.
We can, depending on how things go, we can sort of have that discussion with him after tonight and like tomorrow morning and see what kind of timeframes he can provide us.
I see this as a huge win. I don't know how detailed you guys looked into the tender, but some of those quotes were double.
Yeah.
And this one required no change to our existing electric capacity, much smaller units that, again, we were going, well, how can this be possible that you guys are bidding on half the size of kilowatts? And that's, again, that's why we went back to that Geo Exergy who had ended up doing our Geo. They were happy with it, they confirmed, they said, yeah, this is good. I think
yeah, no, it's
that's all the
awesome.
assurance we need. This will be a cleaner, cheaper system. Gets us out of the propane for this building at least, which we all know propane is not getting cheaper.
Yep.
I'm hoping that the results of this will see big savings and it'll give us ambition to do more of our buildings.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just the time frame is the only thing that's sort of unknown at this point, but like I said, once we know sort of how things go, we can start asking those questions of Mac Tower if that's,
Yeah, for sure.
if our recommendation is accepted.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can have an okay through council to maybe send a letter to them that's, like, they're the company that they're interested in pursuing.
I think
and
if
ask
the
what
consensus of
timelines.
council is to proceed, then you
Just
pretty
do
much
it.
have a consensus.
I just have one quick question.
Sure.
It says not in the details here, not included in the proposal. It says the work listed above pertains to the work done in the boiler room only, okay? But it also says above to supply and install 43 new control valves and digital programmable thermostats. So that doesn't jive together?
So originally we had that sort of separate, those two items.
Okay.
So we're gonna do them at a different time and then come in behind them, but if we're flushing the system, it makes sense to just run the system out once, flush it out, and then do it all at once. So I think like they may sub that work to somebody else to do,
Okay.
like locally, so I think so they might not be actually doing any work outside of the room. I think that's what he meant on that, but.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that we're clear that that's included.
Yeah, he said supply and install.
I know it says supply and install, but then it also
Yeah.
says that they won't be doing anything outside of the boiler room.
Maybe this will help is that we have 3 different air handlers as well. And I think they wanted to make sure that they're not gonna be looking at the air handlers.
Okay.
They're specifically just looking at the boiler system.
Sure.
And that's it.
Yep.
But we can,
For sure, we would confirm that.
Yeah, no, I just wanna make sure.
100%, yeah.
yeah, that'd be a good idea. Just
When
to
you
make
have
sure.
conflicting things.
For sure, yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's
Was
good.
there a motion to proceed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to see something come under budget for once.
Ouch.
For once.
I was gonna sweat at you.
For once.
For once.
From one.
As per my last email, that's one of those ones. Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
So after it's all completed and the install and everything is done, do they come back, say in 3 months' time, to check it out, to make sure everything is running up to par? Do they come back in 6 months, or it's buy, and then we're kind of maintaining it on our own? I'm just wondering if they have any follow-up after the job is complete.
I don't think anything in the proposal suggested there was a physical follow-up. I believe like the warranty period would cover it, and during the install period, we will have our staff here who will be kind of maintaining it, monitoring it to kind of let them have a run through the system as well and ensure that they're competent on running it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, all right. 2-2, asphalt paving.
So I'm gonna
So it's that.
get out of this conversation, declare conflict, because I'm part of some of this.
He's a sub on one of the bids.
Oh, okay, good, all right.
This one is a little bit more complex, so I'm glad Graham is also sitting here. If we look at this strictly on so I guess the first question we need to ask council is, the prices that we were sort of projecting earlier did not come to fruition at all. In fact, phase 1, which is basically the 600 block of Cathedral, which is in front of Bill's house, from the crosswalk to the Cathedral and 7th intersection, we're looking at 300,000+ potentially just for that block, which eats up the entire amount that we were talking about budgeting. That's why in the recommendations we'd like to know, is council dead set on just that 400 spend for this construction season or for this year? Because as Graham has sort of demonstrated in the tables here, there's a substantial amount of savings to be had if we look at doing multiple phases at once or all of it at once.
So the biggest issue here is mobilization costs, right? So, I mean, when you look at our numbers here, we only have one local contractor. If he's the guy that we're picking, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's the cheapest. And potentially then you could break it out phase by phase if that's how you want it. If we weren't going with the local contractor for non-monetary reasons, looking at things on a phase by phase basis is not an effective use of our money. Maple Leaf charges $91,000 every time they roll out here. That's a big part of every single phase if we try and lock it phase by phase. Whitford was about 25 due to his location. When we started combining up the phases to see where we could see the savings, we can save almost $500,000 off Maple Leaf's total bill over the projected 5 phases in the patching we were doing by lumping it all together. Now,
So would you, if that was the case, would you, because now it's coming across as a bigger job or whatever,
Well,
would you rebid that and wait till next year?
well, there's a few ways you could look at this. You could do one phase. If we're just going to do one phase, I don't know that I would use Maple Leaf, considering the high mobilization cost. Then you'd be looking at probably Northern Lights Paving or Whitford.
No, but if you're looking at it as a project now and we want to get the highest quality paving,
If you want to get the most bang for your buck, you're probably looking at spending multiple years of your $400,000 allotment and just saying, we're going to commit 3 years worth of funding and get all this done.
yeah.
Or are you suggesting that we tender it again like in
Well, that's what I'm saying, is
January
that
and then?
I like to eliminate mobilization and demo out of the equation, and if you can, bring more people into the game to compete at a higher level with quality, then and if we are gonna commit going for multiple years anyways, if that's what that's what we wanna do, then would it make more sense to park this year, plan multiple years next year, do a big paving project where you get it all done by
Well, and that's what we're suggesting
Yeah.
is, like, we can approve this and just say that this is going to be multi-year of allotment. We're going to do this big project instead, but we haven't committed to that either. I guess
Yeah.
that's where you guys come in. You get to decide whether you want to just see this phase by phase, whether you want to see, you can combine this any which way, right?
So of the 400, whatever we budgeted, I just kind of, so what happens, we're gonna get your opinion, so what happens to all those places around town that, need to be patched up like yesterday, and then the ones need some, I guess, are or asphalt recycler, or whatever needs to get going, that obviously hits into some of that budget as well? Or will we have another amount that'll cover that? Will it get all done? Because I think also there's an expectation that we see a bit of fresh pavement around town too, right?
So anything water sewer related, those patchworks will come out of the utility budget. So it'll be like finalizing work. So Hazelwood, for instance, that would be out of a separate,
Okay.
come out of a separate account or
On that section of Cathedral right now, there'll be,
that was a storm repair. That was in preparation for potentially, like, as we rated that phase one, kind of the worst section of that entire stretch. So we were doing any underground work that we could do that we knew had to be done before we tackled that paving. So that storm sewer, so part of that paving could be, we can factor out some other things in that 400,000 for 600 block Cathedral, because some of it is water break repair, some of it is storm sewer repair. But I can't say that too much in front of Graham, he gets out of control.
I guess at the end of the day, this is gas tax money, right? So we have this money in the bank. This isn't, I know we budgeted 400,000, but when we spend this is up to council. It's not, we draw tax money, we only have this much to spend. We have 2.8 million in the bank. You can spend it whenever you want. That's council's decision. Once it's gone, it's gone. So I'm of the opinion that you make the best use of your money. I know 2.8 million seems like a lot of money, but it's not actually going to take us that far. At the end of the day, we've got lots that we need to do. So saving, for $400,000 on the whole job to me is fantastic. Let's make that happen. But I can also understand the need where, emergency, this road's in dire condition. Maybe we just need to move on it. That's where the.
If we tendered a bigger project, do you think we get a better price?
It's hard to say.
We were, for LaRose, we were sort of advised not to retender LaRose originally, and we decided to do so, and we did actually end up seeing a better price come in because we did tender it so much earlier in the season. So it's possible, but we can't guarantee because the price of everything is going up.
But still wasn't a significant decrease.
But I think that's the key though, is the time of the year right now.
And the end of the construction season. Yeah.
So you want to kind of get in the queue early, and if they're now lining up work all over northern Manitoba, and you could, like we were talking, there's potentials to piggyback onto somebody else's.
And potentially Maple Leaf will be in the area next year in Snow Lake from what it sounds, so that opportunity might not go by the wayside, but we don't know. Maybe they might not bid on it, maybe they'll have too much, there's so many unknown factors, it's tough to say whether it'll be.
With paving, is there an actual quality spec that gets issued out with that as well?
We refer to the highway standards and to City of Winnipeg
And there's a
standards.
measurement on that, like so when they're doing that work?
Yeah, they have to give us a mixed design prior to, and then Maple Leaf actually has quality control people on site as they do the work to do testing. We can also hire a company to come up and do the testing if we want, depending.
We allow for an allowance as well for testing.
Yeah, we did leave an allowance for testing as well, but it just depends on the scope. If we're doing $1 million+, I think absolutely we would be having density testing done, having asphalt testing done to the nth degree. For smaller works, it's not really financially feasible to do so.
These 5, 6 streets you've identified, are they the worst in town?
Not necessarily, no.
No?
The 600 block phase 1 is definitely, I would say, is one of the worst sections and one of the most utilized sections. We try to work backward from utilization.
Right. Yeah.
And so that being a very main thoroughfare, going to the arena, going to the high school, and all the traffic through there on a daily basis, it made sense.
We did use data though that was gathered from previous studies on the condition of the roads as well to help kind of tighten up where the areas we want to do paving as well.
Yeah, we looked at the most highly used roads and then worked backwards from which ones were in the worst shape. But they are not the worst sections. No, that's right. There is side streets like there's the Readers and the Bagshaws that are in worse shape, but there's more kind of happening there as well. So we had to kind of measure that all on aggregate, I guess.
I kind of like the idea. Saving all that money on mobilization costs is great. And that would still meet our target of 400 a year for the next 4 years. You know, so I don't know what you guys think, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as
Well,
So-
this year, we've allocated the money for this year, right? So that money is sitting on the shelf.
And not to say that there'd be no patching done, like the water break patching that we
Yeah.
have to do around town, the smaller stuff, the medium-sized stuff, we'll still run our asphalt recycler, you know, until the snow is falling, basically.
So we're proposing here, we re-tendered for next year, is this what I'm?
We don't even need to necessarily retender. We can retender, or we can accept one of these tenders for the full phase or a partial phase, or however we want to split this up. That was the way this tender was designed, where they were giving us pricing where we could say, okay, well, we're just going to do phase one, or we're going to do all 6 phases, and we're just going to accept you at that.
We wanted to have the flexibility in case something like this with the pricing did occur, that we could,
So we didn't necessarily. have-
No, I'm just kind of, I'm just confused as to, we're saying we got 2.8, we're saying we'll do more and get a better cost, and then we're asking, we're all okay with that, I'm kind of, what are we, so what,
Options.
are we, so we're saying we're gonna redo,
We don't necessarily have to retender, but this, okay, if we're gonna do this whole project, likely it's not gonna happen this year, is the first step, right? I mean, if you're gonna do all this patching, we're looking at next year or even the year after, I'm not sure, it depends on their schedule, right? We are gonna see a savings, but that would mean that we're gonna see this in our budget once you approve it in the next year or the year after, right?
so, but I guess, because there would be a potential save, we're going to add in more, or just keep it as is in terms of the 5 phases, the 5 streets, that's what we're not gonna change anything other than that.
No, that's what you would be accept, so you could, if you were gonna retender, you could change the scope of this to whatever you want, but if you were gonna accept this as it is, you gotta accept some or all of this.
So the only reason why you said we had 2.8.
Well, so the reason we have $2.8 million in gas tax. So originally, the drive of council was,
Yeah.
let's use some of that gas tax money on road renewal. So that money is there, even though only 400 was budgeted, we have that cash. It's not like a tax, an annual tax amount where we're drawing and we can only spend that. Council can decide to spend that gas tax money any way they want.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, so it came out at 1.4, right?
Yeah,
72.
yeah.
So then wouldn't we get them to do more, or no?
Well, it's up to
If you
you.
wanted to spend all the money, I guess, as you're saying.
We could even reroute it to different
It's been
sections as well,
anyway.
right? Like if we take some more time to relook at the sections of roads,
Yeah,
like
that's what I would say.
part of the section that I'm also interested in, and in talking with some of the contractors, I said like, is there flexibility if we want to do other little, like, if it comes in like 300,000, we have 100,000, like, can we spend that somewhere randomly? And they were like, of course. So like, the tracks at 7th Street coming over would be a great place to put a little bit of money in, right? That big hump coming across Big Mo, another great spot,
Yeah.
right? There's a few spots on 7th Street that, you know, we were thinking of even just doing some overlays and just some little simple things that they could do while they were in town to kind of top up that 300 and some thousand.
Okay.
Right, so we have flexibility if, regardless of.
So is that more what you were getting at?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Okay.
And I also think that you would look at, if you're gonna do them all together, or like a bigger project, that you would look at the efficiencies of saying, well, instead of doing this little piece, we're gonna do this piece because you're there already. You're only paying product now. So why stop in the middle of the day, spend 2 more days and finish it?
Yeah.
No, this is good.
Yeah.
Lots of work done there.
Okay, so then the consensus is that we do them all.
That we do multi-year program all in 1 year.
All in 1 year.
Then the next question is, who would you like to award the tender to?
Well, I think what we should revisit that as a package. I would say you would package it again, like after you review your listing, tender it out again for next year, because you're not doing it till next year, no?
We can just award it as is. As a package deal.
Yeah,
Like it's already been tendered or no?
the pricing will change likely if we're deferring to next year for Maple Leaf and for all the companies as the cost of the product and mobilization, everything changes, so.
Well, right, or it could get less if they're doing work in area already.
Correct, it could sweeten the pot for them potentially.
Could be more.
It could be more too. We don't, again, it's a.
Could be, yeah.
But
Less.
we're seeing such a great savings, I don't think it's gonna change.
So how does it work, like, so now that we got the numbers from them, is it a simple, hey guys, we'd like to go, like, what's your cost for next year, or do you have to do a whole,
Yeah, like, so say we approve Maple Leaf,
yeah?
Yeah,
but they can't start till spring. Are they guaranteeing this price next spring?
no, we'd have to confirm their price for next spring. If we were to, theoretically, if we were to award it to them, we could send a letter to them asking if this price holds to 2019 or 2020, and if they say no, they would probably revise the price and get it back to us, I'm assuming.
And so in terms of the tendering process being fair, so we award it to Maple Leaf, they say, yeah, we'll adjust the prices, they say it's gonna be, 5% more on this and this. Can we just say, okay, or do we have to retender?
You should be retendering that.
If we start changing things, it has to
Yeah.
be full retail.
If you're starting to do that, you can't kind of deal with one guy over the other.
Change it.
So what if we, this word gets a little confusing because of the rules, right?
Yeah.
So what if we approve Maple Leaf tonight, but they can't do it till spring?
As long as
Based
they
on
meet
the
the
price.
It's fine. If they start changing the price, then we would go to the next bidder probably.
Then you'd be better off rebidding it out, like Andre said, because you
that's-
never
that's
know
up
what
to
your
you guys,
prices are
right?
gonna be next year.
Because we're running out of time to do it this year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or at least a project of this scope, yeah.
yeah, like one phase would be definitely feasible, potentially two, but,
You think so?
yeah.
Now, I know we're talking about Maple Leaf here. Again, with Northern Lights paving, it wouldn't really matter. With Whitford, I think his thing was he would do one of the phases this year, leave his equipment in town, and then do the rest next year, is what he said.
I mean, Maple Leaf, if they did it, they must have known, they bid on it, so they must have obviously some interest in knowing maybe they can do it. Because, they know it's getting, it's August the 9th, it's written on it, so they must know they're dealing with a town that our process takes a lot longer than doing my driveway. But, I don't know, maybe they would be. Maybe they would stick to the numbers, I don't know. Never know, ask them.
And we can follow up and ask those questions.
Yeah.
I believe the purchasing agent did have some contact with them in terms of timeframes, and so I'll have to clarify with him a little bit better on that. But I suspect, based on the volume of work, that it would be difficult for them to do all of it. This year, we can ask the question for sure.
What is council's take on holding special meetings after this to potentially move this along?
Yeah, September, we're back to, summer's over.
2 more meetings is going to take another month. Potentially be holding special meetings, this could move a lot faster.
But you could even do like a conference call meeting too, if need be, or a noon, or a quick whatever.
If there's no interest in doing that, we're,
Okay, so the,
There's interest.
yeah, okay.
Oh, it's soon.
Anyway, we can follow up and get a little more clarification. If these prices are going to hold multi-year and what those changes would be, if that's what the council's interest is, that's what I took from that.
my feeling is we're too late this year to get it done, right? So my thought is we retender doing the 6 pieces with a spring start
Altogether,
altogether.
invite all these guys to retender.
Would you like us to review in the meantime, the streets that we're selecting potentially as well?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it gives us more time and more
Yeah,
flexibility to
that's-
kind of
yeah, no.
do a full review of that as well.
We're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
So let's do the best we can.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, I agree, guys. This is good, this is really good.
So now we're going back to retender for next year?
Yeah, we'll retender, doing the whole,
Well, we retender immediately on this, right, is the idea, is for next year.
Yeah.
yes,
Try to get it out of the way.
exactly. Yeah, so they know that we're on the books.
That we're serious.
Let's
yeah.
get budget.
Yeah.
Good me.
When do we start budget?
I'm sorry?
When do we start 2020 budget?
Pretty soon, probably shoot
October?
out stuff to the managers in late September.
I feel like we just started.
You guys probably won't start seeing anything till November.
We tentatively have a planning meeting set for the 28th,
Okay.
tentatively. Okay?
And when these guys, like, we're just at their, whatever they want to do, I guess, but, like, do we have any control when this work gets done?
Absolutely, in the tender process, you can dictate an end date, like, You'd say like, you know, you can say end of the season 2020, it has to be all completed.
Okay. It's just always, you know, I know whatever it was, we were held up by our process was holding up your process and it's late, but it's always kind of nice, you see them doing the paving stuff earlier, you know, and then you can actually enjoy some pavement before, you know, you're digging it up again because the water breaks and then you don't really get the TVs, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of nice to.
Another fear we had too is that this project would have been starting right when school's starting as well,
Yeah.
right? And that would have been a
Yeah, okay.
gong show down there.
So obviously the earlier the better, I guess is what I'm saying, but. That's it, yeah.
Okay? Good job, guys. All right, 2.3, backhoe loader.
This one was pretty straightforward. We evaluated all the backhoes that were presented to us, and we went with what we selected ended up being the cheapest price, the backhoe from Brad Tractor, the John Deere. It met all the specifications we needed, and it came in on budget. Under budget, sorry, under budget.
Under budget.
Again.
Oh, somebody should let Chad know.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We're adjourned.
Yes.
Sleeping in the committee room.
Under budget again, Chad.
Guys could have sent me home.
You just want to bring it in and let you know it's under budget again.
Under budget again?
Yeah, one more time.
So resolution?
Twice in
So
one year?
the specs for this apparatus was similar to the one we already have. The piece we have is fairly old, and
What kind do we have now?
we have a JCB.
What will we do with the old one?
There's different options. I was hoping you weren't going to ask, but there's different options. There's a trade-in possibility that we've already sort of reached out to ask if there's a trade-in possibility. The maintenance department could really use another piece of equipment. The amount of time I see them take just to clear in front of the Civic Center when we're doing our main roads with that snow blower it takes too long. We do have several staff on the maintenance side that are capable of operating that unit, our existing unit.
I'd like to sell it.
I know Graham wants to sell it.
I agree
We have
with
differing
that.
options, but
We're replacing a piece of equipment, right?
You got you.
And we need to get rid of that piece of
Yep.
equipment that we're replacing. If there's a need for a different piece of equipment, yeah, bring it forward.
would there be a minimum dollar value that they offered on the trade-in that would change, like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're gonna get nothing for it, then that's what I'm worried about. We go to
We
trade-in,
can have a reserve.
Why are you changing it? Oh,
That's exactly.
it's in bad shape, and it's underpowered, and it has difficulties at times.
Maintenance costs?
High, very high.
We can have a reserve.
Same
Want to
thing.
maintain that.
Get rid of it.
But there's probably a tipping point where the reserve bid is pretty nominal. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
beat it to death and throw it out, right? So-
Yeah.
That's
So
sort of what I was
scrap.
thinking, until it turns into that loader at the landfill that sits out there. But we can revisit that as well once we have a price for a trade-in value, so.
Okay, so we're moving it out.
That's yes.
Okay.
Good catch. I'm an equipment hoarder, sorry.
We'll fix that.
Okay, dump truck.
So this was a little bit more complex. We did spec what we were looking for in terms of a truck, and only 3 of the trucks that were bid met that specification. One was the International from Maxim, the International from Commercial, and the Freightliner from Commercial Truck as well. Those were the 3 that met the spec that we had placed in the tender. And based on our evaluation, we decided to go with the Maxim International 2021.
Have we ever, and we might have talked about this, but have we ever thought about buying slightly used equipment off auction?
It's difficult because of our tender process, or our policy for procurement, to go to an auction.
Really? Why?
How would you guys authorize us to buy a piece of equipment? The other thing is with the used piece of equipment, you're taking on a certain amount of risk, right? Whereas-
No, I get that, but if you go out and buy a piece of equipment that's got 2,000 hours on it or 3,000 hours on it,
How are you authorizing someone to go to an auction? Like you're
I
talking
don't know,
about
I was just asking the question.
If it was available for like a tender sale, like if we had enough time to pre-plan, take this to council, someone would go look at it. I think there's, again, that risk is there. I think it'd be difficult to provide a level of assurance to council that you're getting a product that's gonna last you.
I think we bought that truck with the hose, the vacuum truck.
Vac truck.
That was a used, right?
Yeah.
Also our
Circumstances would have to.
Yeah, I think we bought that one in Thompson a number of years ago.
I thought it was City Winnipeg, I thought it was an old City Winnipeg
Well,
one.
the first one,
Fire truck
this is actually, this one that we have right now is a replacement from that one.
From that one.
And we also have the garbage compactor at the landfill, that was, it's a 1987 compactor from Ontario.
Yeah.
So we do buy
occasionally,
used.
It's a little tricky.
It has to be
It's
the way,
tricky.
yeah.
But it depends on obviously the type of machine it is, the hours, and its use, so.
And our potential hours worth.
Yeah, it's a good idea sometimes to buy if you can, right? But again, I'm really fuzzy on that whole buying policy, municipal act, MERC's requirements, right? I get really confused on that. And so to go to an auction, I'm not sure what we have to do to be compliant with the act.
But you wouldn't be able, like, typical council procedures to have all the information in front of you to approve what you're buying, right?
I know.
Can't do that at an auction. It's
Yeah.
pretty difficult.
You would have to give us a range of approval of
And then
pricing
that
perhaps.
individual, whether he's an employee or a council member, is taking a certain amount of risk that this piece of equipment is fully functional.
No, but I mean, you can go into those used equipment magazines that sell this stuff.
Yeah, and potentially
Which
that-
is not auction. I maybe use the wrong words.
No, and I know Randy managed the fire chief, is looking at used fire trucks and has been for some time as a source of saving some money, but circumstances really need to be there, right? And certainly, I don't think that there's, anyone would say no to buying a used piece of equipment that met the match perfectly. But yeah, there's certainly a little more challenge to it.
So if you buy this one, are we replacing one, or how do we do it?
Yeah, so this is replacing 2 units. One of them is our sanding unit, which will go to the airport, I believe is the plan, because they're in need of a sander. So we'll gift that one, or however, sell it to them, or however that works. I'm not sure on that side of it.
And then replacing 2 of our, well, actually,
County adjustment.
1 working green dump truck / 1 parts green truck.
Yeah, and that's sort of the benefit of this vehicle, is because right now our sanding unit is only operational several months of the year, so it sits idle for many months of the year. So this truck would replace that and be more functional to utilize more months of the year, all year basically. So
That's cool.
yeah, and also with the plow attachment, we get lots of complaints about like lanes not being done, the back lanes, and when the grader and the loaders are all out in tandem, kind of tackling all the priority streets. The hope would be that this could tackle some of those laneways as well, because a lot of people utilize their laneway as their main point of access for their homes. So, which should make us much more efficient, is the plan.
And our operators are licensed to operate it?
Correct.
It's actually lower class than our top one.
Is
This is
it?
a single axle with air, so you can have a 5th class with air.
Five there?
Yeah. So I figured intermediate to kind of get them a little stepping stone up to class 3.
So we're sending a sander to the airport, and then we're getting rid of a tandem to...
No, just a single axle. It's an old
Cascading
96.
machine out, right? So one goes to the airport, they get a new one, it goes to, our old one goes to the airport, where it no longer has to go on the road anymore, and then after that, their machine they have now is just gonna...
And the 2 dump trucks I was talking about, they're 1996 or even older dump trucks, like the very those old green ones you see forever. Only
They fared very well.
Interesting,
Yeah,
if you have
no,
some information
yeah.
that you could pass me along, if you've seen something
Oh, yeah, no, I will send you something for sure.
more information about it.
96s.
Pardon?
They're
They
1996s?
might be 96 or older.
Or
I can't-
older even, some of them.
I can't recall, they're quite, it was
Even if it's not for this, it'd be...
before emissions, or just when emissions started getting into,
So resolution to council? Yep, everybody's, yep, okay. All right, 2.5, we'll table that for Councilor Ward. 3.1, we'll table for Councilor Ward. 3.2, FleetNet radios.
Graham, do you want to jump in on this one with me also?
Sure, you go ahead and I'll just.
So basically, our FleetNet radios have to be changed out. The ones that we're using right now are no longer being in service, or they're no longer gonna be using them for emergency services. So this is across the board, it's a Manitoba thing, it's not just the PAW. So right now, there's a bit of an incentive for purchasing the radios. And we're looking at, all radios would be $32,600.55. If we commit to our purchase by August 31st, it goes down to $24,450.41. So we would save $8,150.14, which is about 1.5 radios. So we do have money, like, we didn't budget for this year. This is something that just came about. We were just advised as to the approved systems. We didn't get the creme de la creme by any means. Randy had provided me the radios. I think we're looking at 5,000 and most of them are up to 9,000. But we believe that the $5,000 ones will do what we need. And there's money right now in the reserve fund for us to purchase them. So we'd like to look at purchasing them and buying a better deal now.
This is one of those arguments where, do you want to make the savings now or do you want to save your cash flow for later? I mean, the savings is significant, but it means we have to spend the money now.
Yeah, why do we have to do this again though?
They're changing the FleetNet radios out for the province. There's only one provider, it's Bell MTS. They're telling us that we need to commit to buy them in advance and put the deposit down it's 2 years ahead, or we will be paying full price.
Yeah, no, but what's the matter with our existing radios?
They're just not.
They're not gonna do it
They're not
anymore.
gonna be compatible with their current system.
Oh, really?
They're changing the network?
Yeah, everything is, the old system is gonna be gone.
We used to be nuts on
Seems pretty baffling to me.
No?
So just so I'm clear, we're paying now, but we don't get the radios until 2021, actually? Okay, all right. I was just wondering if there was, because we paid.
2021?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or we don't pay now and then we just pay full price on the 21.
So
yeah.
this is like, in terms of the, like AMM buying, like that, is that?
No.
that's
MTS is the only one that has them, or Bell MTS is the only one that sells these.
No, but in terms of like buying bulk, like that's what I thought, like AMM was kind of, to get you a better price, it's, no, they don't.
No strong arming Bell MTS.
So will they just sit on a shelf for 2 years?
We won't even get them. Like, we won't get them until 2021. They want our money now.
And there's only one supplier?
Yeah, it's Bell MTS.
What with the Bell?
Buy some shares in Bell just before you
But it
buy
says
this.
James is the distributor and Bell is the
Take the
provider.
graph.
So we're getting them from James?
Correct.
Yeah.
Jeans basically told Randy, and he told us, is Jean said, if you want this discount, I need the money by end of the week.
So by the end of the week.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, though, that you would pay somebody to buy something and not take the delivery. Usually you order something and you get the material and then you pay them.
Because then what makes you wonder, is someone gonna come up with something in the next year and a half?
That's what I worry about.
Well, my concern is in electronics, 2 years is a lifetime. And things change, and consider my experience with electronics is the price goes down. Right, so 2 years from now, why wouldn't those radios be cheaper?
I don't think you're paying for the cost of the radio. Maybe this is just me. I don't think you're paying for the cost of the radios here so much as you're paying for the service. It's unfortunate that Randy wasn't here. I'm sure he could tell me or talk a lot more on this.
Could we get like a quote or a letter from Jeans or?
He had a letter.
Yeah.
Does he? Yeah. Can we maybe
I
get
can
this
get
over
that sent to
email
you.
by the end of the week?
Tomorrow, because
Yeah.
we're looking at the 31st.
Yeah, for sure.
Email it to us, please.
Saturday.
It just
Right.
seems so bizarre.
Yep, they've been talking about, and all of a sudden it's like, poof, you need to do it now.
Okay,
'Cause
I don't. So you'll get back to us with more info?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll send
thank
you an
you.
email tomorrow with the letter.
All right, 4.1, variation application, building height.
It's just basically letting you know that there's gonna be a hearing coming up on Monday, September 9th at 6 PM, and that's for an accessory building. The height is going to be taller than your average.
Okay, so that's information for now. Height of fence.
Yep, and this will be one that's just, by McDonald's here, and it's to create the higher fence.
That makes
Now-
sense, right?
Yeah,
It says front and back, or side and back, so
Yeah.
does that mean the side as well as the back lane?
Right now, they're looking at having a buffer in between is the problem.
So just in between.
Because it's just, it's not a very high
Yeah.
fence, so they want the 6-foot fence.
So why do we, no, they want an 8 foot.
Or 8 foot,
So
pardon me, it's
why-
because of the business that's there.
Why is it that the bylaw is set for a 6-foot fence to start off with? Like, is that just what it is for everywhere, or is that just the plot?
Part of the problem is this is a residential area here, so you don't want 6 feet fences everywhere. That's why our bylaw says 3 feet for the front, and then behind the front wall of the principal building, it can go up to 6 feet. If you want a 6-foot fence in the back of your yard, you have to move it up quite a bit so that it creates no visibility issues.
So it's visibility,
Yeah.
is the reasoning behind it all. Okay.
It's 6 feet is the standard maximum height?
Yep,
And that's a town bylaw?
yep.
That's a town bylaw. Okay, so public hearing coming?
Yep.
All right.
More questions, sorry.
Yep.
So, on top of your 6-foot fence, when you have lattice on top of it, then your fence is no longer 6 feet.
Correct.
So, is that fence not already higher than
No,
6 feet?
the one further down is, but they applied for a variation for that one, but it's the one that's actually
Right beside.
parallel to the drive-through itself. The lane.
If you look at the further where the parking lot is,
Yeah.
that's a full, that meets the requirement, they had a variation for that. It's the one right here at the drive-in, or drive-through where it's right abutting that house, that's where they wanted higher.
Big white one that was for sale for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
theirs isn't 8
I
foot.
drove by it twice today, and I was thinking that it's already higher than 6 feet.
No, that one's
Maybe
only
I'm
six.
super low.
Could be.
Okay,
We're good to go?
all right, well, we do have a couple things in camera. Oh, sorry? Did I
I
miss
don't
something?
see it on here, but the tax sharing agreement.
It's in camera.
It's in camera.
Oh, it's in camera. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a couple things in camera, there'll be no business coming out of it, guys. So we please resolve that.
Wonder?
I know, I'm waiting, looking for my thing to go to do that. Oh, right.
Oh,
We resolve now that we now move ourselves to the in-camera portion of the committee of the whole with Mayor Jakes in the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.